Thank you, everyone. And I'd actually like to thank Mary and Lynn from the Reading Centre for the invitation to be here this evening. And I really like the way you finished, Beryl, because with your last statement about it being complicated, through my work at the QCT, I've just finished and published my first ever iBook. And that was complicated, trying to actually undertake this with a completely new platform. I'd never used iBook Author before, and what I thought would take a few months took a lot longer, but it's now published and on iBooks for pre-service and registered teachers to work through, and it's free. Okay, so when I was preparing for this session, I started to have a little bit of a think about my own experience as a reader and a teacher of reading. And I thought back to, I grew up in the bush, wasn't a lot happening when I was a kid, so I like to read. And the very first book I ever read from front to back without any mistakes was The Diggingest Dog. Now, this is not the actual original one because I bought this one for my son to read to him when he was young. I do recall this book being, I think it was the achievement of having gone from front to back without a mistake, and I loved all of the diagrams and the wonderful illustrations. Has anyone ever read this book? It's a great book. I can actually read it off by heart. And now I thought to myself, would I have had the same experience had I read that as an online text or as an iBook? But I will never know because that wasn't an option. Today, fast forward, that is an option for our students, and I think it's really important for us as teachers to consider that we need to probably adapt our pedagogy and our teaching to take into account the various diverse platforms and tools that are available to our students as we continue to help them to become confident and capable readers. When we have conversations about reading and viewing and interacting online, I don't think the focus should be on the debate about online versus digital, or which system. Are we talking iPad versus laptop or tablet versus laptop? Because regardless of your position, it's pretty obvious that sometimes there will not be a lot of choice. And I'm going to share some of that with you shortly. Again, I'll reiterate the fact that as teachers, we need to capitalise on those technologies that our students are engaging with to ensure that we can perhaps make reading a little bit more engaging for some of our students, and to look at what they're using and to consider how we can use those platforms to help them become effective readers. Just talking about the technology, a couple of years ago, you might recall, it was all over the media, the headmaster of Sydney Boys Grammar came out as aghast because they'd had the one-to-one program at their school. Every boy had a laptop, but there was no evidence to prove that the learning outcomes had significantly improved. He said, that's it, banning the laptops. And you know what? He's absolutely right. A laptop is just a tool. If the school is not supported, or the teachers, we haven't got quality teaching or good digital pedagogy, and the teachers actually understand how to use the technology effectively in teaching and learning, they're a very expensive exercise book. So I keep, drumming on my little message about the technology is the tool. Again, when I work with pre-service teachers, I try to calm them when they get very frantic about this space because it's so rapidly changing. You think 7 years ago there were no iPads in Queensland classrooms, and 10 years ago when I wrote the student ICT expectations for Queensland, the iPad wasn't even in our vernacular. The word app wasn't even something I even had to consider. I know that QR codes was something that we were thinking about and we were debating, should we put them in or not? So this is how fast the technology is changing. I talked to them about context. For example, if you were a teacher now sent to Brisbane State High, top right, there are 3,000 students with 3,000 iPads. They are completely immersed in the app world. Down the bottom, Nudgee College, St Joseph's Nudgee College. My son's actually there. At 1,500 boys, they are one of the first Google schools to completely rely on Google Apps. And 1,500 of those boys, BYOD, personal device, laptop, tablet, Chromebook. Imagine a teacher in that classroom having to manage that and deliver curriculum. Up the top, my favourite, Baduri Primary School, very, very remote and isolated on the edge of the Simpson Desert. When the principal and I were chatting a while ago about the technology there and how they're embracing it, she said, Anna, we only get access to the internet when the cow comes to town. I was going, oh, what's that? It's communication on wheels, a portable cellular wireless system, and they make the most of it when it arrives. And then finally, down the bottom at Mornington Island, I've got one of my colleagues is the deputy there. They were having trouble trying to get their year 7 and 8 boys to actually come to school. The technology that they have available to them, iPads and laptops, and we created a unit of work where the boys created actually have built an outrigger canoe, documented it using the iPad to create the documentary, and I'm happy to say that last year they were invited to the National Maritime Museum. The outrigger canoe did float, and they shared their work that they created through the technology available to them. Okay. We are all knowing about our preppies who will be graduating in 2030. I want you just to consider this. These will be students who are driving driverless cars. They will be people who are probably working in the space tourism industry, that they perhaps may be engaging in employment as a data miner, jobs that we never really even thought would exist. I think it's also important when Beryl made the comment about digital natives. If I fast forward here to this group, the Gen Z, where my son belongs, he's in year 12, this belief that they are savvy with the technology is quite a misconception, because my son can whip up a party on social media in 10 minutes, 500 kids, yes he can, but to understand how to use the technology effectively in teaching and learning is something we as teachers have to continually work on. And the other thing about age here, there's also this misconception about the younger teachers, oh, savvy and got it all covered. The oldest teacher on our register is 89. His name's Don Barrett. He works at Brisbane Boys Grammar and he teaches Latin. Does anyone know Don? He is technologically savvy, and he has talked about how technology has revolutionised and transformed his life as a teacher. So nice little thought there. You've probably all seen this because this is not new, but in 2015 the new work order was released. No surprises, and this was a comment that I thought was quite interesting, that or a statement, 90% of Australia's current workforce will need digital skills to perform their roles the next 2 to 5 years. That's quite significant. But we know that because I can't think of a day where I myself don't engage somehow in digital. I'm going to ask you now to do something for me. If you've got your iPhone or a device here and you can connect to the internet, this would be an opportunity. I've just put on the back of my card a URL, but I'll go straight to it. If Alex might help me with this. Was it Command Tab, Alex? No, didn't work. Do it again. To the poll that I had set up. Do you want me to do it again? Oh, beautiful. Okay, so I've set up a poll and we're going to create a little Wordle, and the URL is pollev.com/QCT123. If you have access to the internet via your device, could you please just put down a comment, a word or two? What do you think it means to be digitally literate? If anyone actually sees the question on your phone, can you let me know? Just make sure that it's been pushed out properly. Does anyone see the question on their device yet? Maybe it's coming. Yep. Hang tight. We might not waste too much time if it's not. Okay. Not working. Maybe oh, you've got to that point. Yep. And you just go here. Yep. Yep. Just press down there. Oh, I'll have to push it out again. Just bear with me. We did this very early this afternoon. I'll try again. Yep, there we go. Should receive it now. Yep. Okay, so 1 or 2 words. And those of you that are familiar with this tool, it's a really cool tool. Those of you that aren't, it's free if you don't have more than 50 respondents. And we use this often with our big groups just to ascertain quick, fast response. Oh, excellent, tech savvy. The words that take up the most real estate in this Wordle are the words that are most popular responses. Beautiful, meaning maker, nice, multimodal, excellent. Fantastic. All right, I'm going to keep that and I will use that a little bit later. So, Alex, how will I get out of here? Oh, thank you. Do I need to do anything? Oh, okay, beautiful. Okay, so what does it mean to be digitally literate? Well, according to the Australian curriculum, there is the definition there, but I think basically, to sum up, to be digitally literate means to have the skills to access information and to communicate in this technologically sophisticated world that we live in. Pretty much sums it up. The Australian curriculum, fortunately, love it, because for the last many, many years, probably 12 years, we've been talking about supporting students to become digitally literate. We haven't really had, until the Australian curriculum and the wonderful ICT capability and now our digital technologies discipline, a place or a, let's say, continuum and content where teachers can actually, where the content is articulated and aligned across the year levels. So we can see what is expected at each and every year level and what our teachers are expected to teach. I'm going to go straight to this because as one of the writers of the digital technologies discipline, the terminology can be very confusing. I'm just going to remind everyone that digital technologies curriculum or discipline with capitals, proper noun, is the discipline. It's probably, we've argued about this, the other writers, it probably shouldn't have been called that because it's caused so much confusion. Digital technologies, lowercase, is the systems, the devices, the apps, all of those things we talk about in the doing and the actual platforms, but capital letters for the discipline. And then we've got the ICT capability, which is where we talk about students becoming effective users and confident users. The curriculum is about confident creators of digital solutions. So we're programming, we're learning to code, computational thinking skills, design thinking skills, and systems thinking. Really important that we understand the difference in those terms. I would argue that the ICT capability should have been called digital literacy, because when I wrote the ICT student expectations for Queensland, we had the same 5 curriculum elements, and as I've probably got to know this space a lot over the last few years, I really believe that this is a good place or a good way to define digital literacy. There are 5 elements or curriculum organisers, all interrelated. And I'm going to give you an example now of how a student task, this is a fictitious one, we could ask students to complete this task and how they will engage and what are the demands or the digital literacy demands of this task. So we'll go to the task. What is the function of the Queensland College of Teachers? Just imagine we've asked our students to find out that. They're going to present their findings to the class via a short presentation. All right, first and foremost, they could go to our website. Oh, look, there's me with the iBook. How convenient. No, the plugging the iBook. They could go to our website. They could navigate the website through the different tabs, and it's not a very good website, by the way. They could go to our iBook through the app iBooks. Or they could go to any of our social media sites. They could go to LinkedIn and try and find some information there. I did ask our director today, is there anywhere print-based that they could find out? And he went, no, maybe the legislation in our Act. But the only way to find out information about the QCT is to go online. Or, so we're looking here, critically evaluating the information that they're finding on our website. They could visit us. So they would need their GPS devices perhaps. They could use some of the online technology to find where we are and come and ask us a question or two. Or they could phone us. Or they could collaborate and communicate online with other people who may have worked there, or some other teacher that may, or someone that might have just received their full registration or graduated. Then they might decide, how am I going to present this information I've found to the class? Will I use PowerPoint? Nah, Movie Maker, maybe some presentation software, iMovie. Well, hopefully this will work. One of the apps that our students engage in, interact with, is Telegami. It's a simple little avatar creating app, and you can change yourself to look glamorous. You can have long hair, brown hair, dark hair. You can be a boy if you want to be. Let's see if it works. Oh, hang on, I have one more to go. Last element, applying social and ethical protocols. Have they articulated, or have they referenced correctly? Have they acknowledged the people that contributed and copyright, all of those things? Have they made sure that they had permission to use images of people in their clip? And here we go.
Hello, my name is Anna and I work at the Queensland College of Teachers. Our office is located in Toowong in Brisbane and consists of a director and about 50 staff members. At the QCT, we work with the teaching profession and other key stakeholders to ensure that education in Queensland schools is provided by teachers who meet Australian professional standards. And we love to promote the wonderful work being undertaken every day by teachers across the state.
Okay, so Telegami. All right, let's have a look now at interacting with digital text. And I don't know why I've got a question mark there, but what are our students doing and how are we going to encourage and support them in their reading? I'm going to stop speaking. When I grew up, this is how, or when I was learning to read, this is how I identified the graphics with the letters. I'm going to give you an opportunity now to see how many of those you can identify. Whoops, I went, back we go. Thanks, Lynn. Some of you may have photographic memories and saw the answers. See how many you can get, because these are some of the graphics associated with our platforms in our digital tools for our Gen Z and Alphas. Okay, who thinks they've got quite a few of them? Yep. All right, there's the answers. Someone has? There we go. All right. Okay. And of course, fast forward, some of these tools our students are engaging in are for social media, others are for word processing, presentation software, spreadsheeting software, story creation, etc., etc. Let's go to some curriculum examples now. Now, I'm going to focus particularly on comprehension or reading because the Year 5 to 9 career junction, thinking I'm back at the QCT, year levels. Okay, from the Australian curriculum, the actual definition of reading is here, but I'm going to just focus here when we're looking at digital on construction of meaning in non-print. Here's, you can't read that obviously, but the four areas that I sort of went to start this off was obviously the ICT capability, the literacy capability, then two of the strands in the English curriculum to see the alignment. Now, if we go to my first example, Year 8, science, and I did check this with our biology teacher at the QCT, if the students in Year 8 are looking at multicellular organisms and structures and the various functions of the organs, there's some things that they could be doing, and they could go to a website, and I was going to get you to do this, but we'll do it here. We're going to go to the website called the Pacific Northwest Tree Octopus. See, as fast as you can, first person to tell me the size of this creature. Reading as quickly as you can. Oh, perfect. Okay, anyone seen this website before? Okay, it's a totally fictitious website and it's a hoax, but it exists. And I've done this with so many students over so many years, and even the biology teacher at work, and she had no idea either. And it's the credibility thing that we really need to be concentrating on here and helping our students to understand what's credible, what's not. And you know what? When I looked this up, the author of this, he's from the something Haggis Society at the bottom, it says. And you only find that out when you scroll down the bottom. But the amount of information he has put on here, it's phenomenal. You just check it out one day. All right, now what I'm going to do is, with the help of technology again, we're going to have a look at some augmented reality. And this, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I've written a blog which was pretty interesting when I saw this, because I wanted to see what other teachers thought. And the biology teachers just loved me, because now they don't have to go and buy frogs. And you'll see why in a moment. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to mirror here, Alex. So, fingers crossed. Yep. Okay. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to bring up Frogopedia. And this is an AR app that our students are interacting with at the moment. But let's just ask you the question. What do you think are the reading demands, or what sorts of things, when we're looking at the graphics and the interface, the user interface? First of all, we've got this legend here, and we're in the section that is called the life cycle. As I push up, we can see we're moving up, and we've got a little bit of text up here to tell us what's happening at week 4. We're moving up as the tadpole develops, more text, etc. Now, I'm going to go to the most exciting part, the dissection. Have a look at this. So the demands, the literacy demands here would be that it's asking me to tap. So I'm going to tap there. I'm going to tap there. Tap, tap. This is pretty cool by that tap. Now I'm going to dissect. Yep. Here we go. Dissecting. Keep dissecting. And you can see how through the touch I'm fully immersed in this, because it's giving me the instructions. While I'm here, I'm going to flip it across, flip, flip, cut up, and again. And then I'm going to cut down the bottom. I'm nearly there. Bear with me. And we're going to flip it open. And I'm going to take out some of the organs in a moment. And as you can see, let's start off with, what do we go with first? Okay, so we've got the liver. You can see we can flip the liver around. They can read it. They can discuss it. We can move up as we take out other body parts, etc. So you see where this is going. But now I want to take you to something really cool, and I hope this works. When we go to the actual anatomy and the structures, I need to find on the ground somewhere a yellow light, and it looks like oops, bear with me. Here it is. Now I'm going to tap on this. Tell me if you see a frog appear. Yep. Mm-hmm. So there he is. Now I'm going to look at his systems. We're at the muscular system. Now we're looking at the skeletal system, and you can see the text is changing, the nervous system. You see where this is going. So think about this as a reader, comprehending and finding information and facts, but fully immersed and not having to cut up the yucky frog. That's right. Okay, so I'm just going to stop mirroring because I am on a very tight schedule. How am I going for time? Oh no, okay. All right, let's fast forward very quickly. Okay, talking about, let's go to year 6 now, and another example, particularly here with the graphical representations. And I can't not do this. I must talk about the new visual programming and text-based programming, not new, but in our curriculum now, this is a new content area, brand new learning. So when students start to learn computer programming from year prep right up to year 5, 6, the expectation is they'll start with a visual programming language, which is not text-based, but is based on graphic representations that are modified and moved to create programs according to blocks. When they get to year 7 and 8, they start their text-based programming languages, which are Python and JavaScript, where they're using a combination of symbols and words to create their program. With visual program, we don't have any textual syntax, so it's just about blocking. Over here, we now have a whole new language and rules of the language. So this new literacy that our students are expected to be engaging with and reading code and interpreting is something really significant. And unless they can do that, effectively their drones won't fly around where they're supposed to, and their robots won't move where they need to be. Another quick example is looking at digital interfaces, okay? So students in this curriculum are expected to design user interfaces and not just design them, but program or create programs to support some of the back ends of these systems. Let me quickly show you an example. When we teach students to program, we use obviously some unplugged ways, and this is with our flowcharts. The universal symbols for flowcharts, when we have a diamond, that represents a condition. Okay, so meaning when we get to add item cost to the total item cost, is that the last item? If yes, if no. So these are the symbols and the graphic representations that our students are now having to understand and interpret as they're reading code and programming. Then they translate that to their actual code, and you can see here, this is just a scratch in the early years or the middle years, where they've created their code using the blocks, and each block represents a different action. They've got some milk, eggs and cheese. We're looking at what is a barcode. What sort of information data in does that scanner need to process to give information out? I'm rushing through this, but I'll just quickly skip through. We've just sort of seen all of that. Oh, okay. Geography, HPE, year 9 and 10. Fitbit data. Lynn and I did a wonderful web conference earlier this year, and the teachers love this. You could give the Fitbit data to students and say, okay, what can you infer about this person? Now, you can't see that up close, but I can tell you that if you look at the sleep data here, you can see that this person's like sleeping for 1 hour, 49 minutes, etc. And then you realise the time they're having a little afternoon nap. Maybe they're a teacher, maybe it's the Christmas holidays, maybe they're exhausted. Having a look at the running map, Lynn and I actually noticed one of the teachers said, why is that person running into the water? And we had to explain it was actually the groin at Coolangatta. And I only know that because that was me running around there. Of course, you can infer a lot using data such as this. Again, year 4, we're looking at history, students navigating convict database. Okay, once they've done that, they're navigating, they're finding information, they're in history, but they're using digital literacy skills. And again, we could go to engage them further with social media. What would the convicts have tweeted? Who would their Facebook friends have been? What would their SMS messages be? Create some hashtags and QR codes. All of this work is actually being done in some classrooms. We're looking at year 5 to 6 history and looking at infographics now. Students are using data, remember data in and information out, to not just represent and present data, but to interpret. Nearly there. One of the other things where students are expected to do in the digital technologies curriculum is evaluate interfaces. If you look at this, this is an app, a very boring app. Do we know whether it's an app for butchers or a restaurant? We wouldn't know, would we? So we can ask our students to redesign, to think about the information and the graphics that the user might want. Might be some images, some actual more information there. And finally, I think the biggest challenge, and I've been in this space for many, many years and the same conversations keep coming about, but I think our biggest challenge is that we need to support our teachers in their ability and their professional development so that they are able to not get hung up on the tools that change, but to have a good digital pedagogy to understand how to harness and to capitalise on the technologies available to them at the time, regardless of setting, regardless of resources available, to support their students in reading. And finally, this might
Charlie Bucket!
Yes, Mr. Turkentine?
I shall need an assistant. Come and give me a hand. We have here nitric acid, glycerine, and a special mixture of my own. Together, it's horrible, dangerous stuff, blows you up. But mixed together in the right way, as only I know how, what do you think it makes?
I don't know, sir.
Of course you don't know. You don't know because only I know. If you knew and I didn't know, then you'd be teaching me instead of me teaching you. And for a student to teach his teacher, it's presumptuous and rude. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, mixed together in the right way, these 3 highly dangerous ingredients make the finest wart remover in the world. The trick is to pour them in equal amounts. Now, Charlie, you take the nitric acid and the glycerine, and I'll take my own special mixture. You ready? Good lad. Pour.